Our world needs solutions. Bold dreamers with big ideas and a track record of striving to solve the toughest challenges of today to create a better tomorrow. The MacArthur Foundation's 100&Change competition invites you to scale the mountaintop, to navigate a new path to a promising solution in any field, anywhere in the world, with creativity and determination. We believe that a single $100 million grant can empower real progress, addressing a critical problem of our time with a measurable and lasting solution that is impactful, evidence-based, feasible, durable, and just. From educating children displaced by conflict and persecution in the Middle East and North Africa, to accelerating an end to homelessness in the United States, our past awardees prove there is no challenge too vast, no problem unworthy. Sometimes we are held back only by the limits we place on ourselves. So dream big. 100&Change. Are you ready to solve a problem?
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Q&A webinar for 100&Change. My name is Christabel Villena, and I'm with CARET, the agency that is supporting the MacArthur Foundation and Lever for Change with this program. We also power the 100&Change website and platform you are using to register and complete your online submission. Closed captioning is available by clicking the CC icon. International Sign Language or ISL interpreters, English, Spanish, and English, French interpreters are available by clicking the globe icon on the toolbar. If you don't see these icons, please click more, and the options for captions and interpretation should be available to you there. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the News and Updates page of the website in the next week or so. We will also post it to forums on the platform and email it to those who have registered for 100&Change. We have reserved most of our time over the next hour for your questions. In just a moment, the MacArthur Foundation will welcome you and provide an overview of 100&Change. I'll then do a quick walkthrough of the website with some help from Ethan Matthews from CARET. Then my CARET colleagues, Amy Klein and Susanna Whitlatch, as well as other members of the Lever for Change team, will help get your questions answered. As questions come up, please type them into the Q&A tab. And if you submitted your questions by Monday, July 29th, there's no need to add them again to the Q&A tab. We have those questions noted, and we'll get to as many questions as we can during our session today. And of course, if you have questions after today's session, you can always reach us at questions@100&change.org. Now, I'm pleased to turn things over to Kristen Mack with the MacArthur Foundation.
Thank you, Christabel. And hello, everyone. I am Kristen Mack, the Vice President of Communications, Fellows, and Partnerships from the MacArthur Foundation. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I will provide an overview of the 100&Change competition, what it aims to achieve, and the types of solutions that we're seeking. 7 years ago, the MacArthur Foundation set out to do something bold and different when we launched the first round of 100&Change. Now we're launching the third round of the competition to solve a critical problem of our time. 100&Change is a MacArthur Foundation competition for a $100 million grant to fund a single proposal that will make measurable progress towards solving a significant problem. Some problems can't be solved by grants the size that foundations typically provide. With a $100 million grant, we believe that we can address problems and support solutions that are radically different in scale, scope, and complexity. 100&Change is unique in its focus on problems and their solutions, and the requirements that proposals address both. It's also unique because no single field or problem area is designated, unlike most prizes and challenges. And proposals from all sectors and anywhere in the world are encouraged. Competitive proposals will address a significant problem and provide a solution that is impactful, evidence-based, feasible, durable, and just. The openness and transparency of the 100&Change application process are also distinctive. Applicants know exactly what they're being scored on, the criteria that I just named, and every applicant receives meaningful feedback on their proposal. First, from fellow applicants during participatory review, and then from our WISE-Head panel for applicants that advance to that stage. We're currently in the registration period, and registration is required before you can apply for the competition. You'll have until August 15th to register. And for those who participated in the last round of 100&Change, you may note a few refinements, but the framework is largely unchanged. One significant change in this round of the competition is the addition of the just criterion. This is the result of revisiting the application and scoring rubric to align with MacArthur's just imperative, which is rooted in the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our goal is to frame the 5 criteria collectively so any applicant can see their project reflected. We ask applicants to demonstrate a commitment to equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and to provide a solution that benefits different populations equitably. We believe that this approach is inclusive and provides applicants an opportunity to consider how they make sure their DEI commitment is relevant in their particular context. The process is intended to be as open as possible. We're asking you to tell us what you could do with a $100 million grant. And we can't wait to see the ideas that you bring to the fore to address critical issues around the world. Now I'll turn it over to Cristobal Vilena from CARET to walk you through the registration process and to show you how to navigate the competition website in greater detail. Cristobal?
Thanks so much, Kristen. I will now provide an overview of the website and process for 100&Change. Let's start with registration. If you haven't already, we encourage you to complete the registration process as soon as possible. Registration by 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time on Thursday, August 15th is required so that your organization has the opportunity to submit an online submission. Registration is very simple. You'll go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the blue registration section that counts down the number of days to register. You will then be instructed to create an account and confirm your email address. Please be sure to check your spam and add questions at 100&Change.org to your safe senders to help make sure you receive important communications from us. Once confirmed, you will be prompted to submit some basic information about your organization so that we can better understand our registrant community. And please note, you will not receive an automated email confirmation of your registration. If you're able to access the online application form and the forums on the platform, then you have registered properly for the challenge. Now, all our challenges are rooted in the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. We want to be sure that everyone who registers and applies for this opportunity knows exactly what we expect from them, when and how they're going to be scored, and who will be evaluating their solutions. This website is built as an instructional guide to understanding that process. A good place to start is the readiness tool. From the menu, you can select Organizational Readiness. Here you'll find a quiz that is not required, but is offered as a tool for you to use anonymously. As you can see, there are some guiding questions to help gauge whether you are eligible and a good fit for 100&Change. Next, let's visit the Rules page. Under Rules, you can read about the legal stipulations governing your participation. You can find the eligibility criteria and learn more about the detailed terms and conditions. Please review this page closely. You'll find information on the required MOU, charitable purpose and private benefit rules, policies on intellectual property, human subjects research, lobbying, and indirect costs. We outline expectations of finalists should you move on to that phase of 100&Change. There's a list of sample grant agreement provisions and more. Another important section of our website is the application page. The full text of the application is available to any visitor to this website. You can see all the sections, prompts, required attachments, and word count limits. Please read through all the sections so that you have a good grasp of what is required to submit a competitive application. Now let's talk about how your application will be assessed. So on this website, you can click on Scoring Process and then Scoring Rubric to see the 5 criteria that will be used to evaluate submissions. 5 criteria are impactful, evidence-based, feasible, durable, and just. Each trait consists of a prompt that details what it means in this context, and each trait will be given a score between 0 and 5. You can toggle back and forth between the scoring ranges for any given trait, and a scoring range definition will appear to provide further detail on how we define a low versus a high score for 100&Change. Please familiarize yourselves with this rubric to help build a strong proposal. And once you've reviewed these pages, you should have a good sense of what you'll need to do to apply. This brings us to the evaluation process. Administrative review will take place immediately following the submission deadline. The 100&Change team will review all submissions to ensure they comply with the rules and application requirements. All complete and valid applications will move on to participatory review, which is a required component of 100&Change. Please consider this as you solidify your plans to apply for 100&Change. Participatory review will take place over a few weeks from mid-October to early November. During this time, each lead organization will be required to review and provide scores and comments on 5 other applications using the scoring rubric. Your review will happen on the same platform that you are using to submit your application. The lead organizations who complete participatory review will receive anonymized scores and feedback from 5 of their fellow applicants. And then once participatory review is complete, up to 500 submissions will move into WiseHead panel review. And so from this evaluation page on the website, you can click on Meet the WiseHeads to learn more about the evaluators that we have confirmed at this time. The panel is comprised of individuals with various backgrounds and expertise. We invite you to check back as we add more WiseHeads in the coming weeks. Similar to participatory review, WiseHeads will provide scores and comments for each of their assigned submissions. And each submission that moves on to this stage will receive another set of anonymized scores and feedback from 5 members of our WiseHead panel. And we often find that the feedback received from participatory and WiseHead panel review is one of the most important aspects of participating in our challenges. And that even if you're not selected for an award, you walk away with valuable feedback that you can then use to refine your solutions and perhaps seek other funding, new partners, and other support. So this brings us to another important topic. How do we ensure the process is fair? To address this question, you can go to the menu and select Scoring Process, then Fairness, to view a web page dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize scores. I mentioned submissions will be scored by 5 fellow participants and 5 WiseHeads. This means that not every applicant and WiseHead will look at every application. We make sure you're not disadvantaged if by chance you were assigned to a tough grader and another participant was reviewed by someone who tended to be a little more lenient with their numeric scores. On this fairness page, you can read more about how scores are rescaled and normalized to account for this. There are a few other features on this website I'd like to point out. First, let's visit the timeline page. So this details each phase of the challenge. Again, registration is required and must be completed by Thursday, August 15th at 5:00 p.m. U.S. Central Time. The application deadline is Thursday, September 5th at 5:00 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And then participatory review is for 3 weeks from October 15th to November 4th. And the timeline goes on to list all other key dates related to 100&Change. The website also offers other helpful areas like news and updates. On news and updates, we'll post the recording of this webinar and other updates along the way. And then a very important page is our FAQ page. On our FAQ, we have a series of frequently asked questions. This has been recently updated, and some of the questions answered on today's webinar will also be added. We'll continue to update this page throughout the process. We encourage you to read over all of these FAQs and check back for updated information and guidance. And now let's move on to the Q&A portion of today's webinar. Please continue to add your questions to the Q&A tab, and we'll get to as many as possible during our session today. We understand that some of the questions may have already been answered by our remarks so far, or by some of the questions that we'll be about to answer. But again, we'll get to as many as we can today. Again, if you submitted your question before this webinar by like Monday of this week, then we do have it and it will be answered during our session. If we don't get to all of the questions, it's very likely the information you need is on our website, so please review the website in its entirety, especially the rules and the FAQ. And it's important to note that to ensure fairness, we are not able to provide guidance that is very specific to your organization and your proposed solution. If you have questions after today's session and after reviewing the website or need technical support as you complete your submission, please email us at questions@100&change.org. All right, let's get started. Amy and Susanna, please take it from here.
Thank you, Christabel. First question, can we send updates if we have changes to our proposed solutions, such as a new partner or funders? And if new partners can be added, would these new partners be able to receive re-grants from lead organization?
Take this one. No, please do not send us any updates to proposed solutions after the submission deadline. Finalists and the awardee will have the opportunity to provide updates, revised timelines, budgets, and more information during the project development phase of 100&Change. If you have updates to contact information on your registration form, you may edit that on the platform up until the submission deadline. If you have contact info changes after the September 5th submission deadline, you can email questions@100&change.org and we'll help you update this.
Next question, how do I know if my organization is a good fit?
Yes, thanks for this question. We also see some questions asking about specific types of solutions and if they're eligible. To help ensure fairness for all of our participants, we're not able to provide guidance that is very specific to your proposed solution or your application. Please use the organizational readiness tool to help determine your fit and readiness to compete in 100&Change. Please also review the FAQ, application requirements, and the rules to learn more about what's eligible and required of 100&Change participants. Spend time thoroughly reviewing the scoring rubric to learn more about how we define a strong solution as well.
Who can apply?
Any organization or legal entity can apply except for government agencies and individuals. All projects must further a charitable purpose. For-profit entities, colleges and universities, and tribes and tribe-affiliated entities are also eligible to apply as a lead, as long as the proposed solution and the use of funds meet requirements listed under our private benefit rules and the lobbying policy. These requirements, as well as many other policies and guidance, are also listed under rules on the website. Please note, 501c4 organizations are not eligible to participate as a lead applicant. A 501c4 organization may participate in or collaborate on a project advanced by an eligible lead organization, provided that the project has a clearly articulated charitable purpose. None of the funds would be used by the 501c4 organization other than for the identified charitable purpose, and the 501c4 organization would not engage in any political activities, including participating in or contributing to a political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any political candidate, or lobby any legislative entity as part of or with respect to the project. We welcome applicants of any size, but have generally found that larger organizations are more likely to effectively absorb and deploy very large grants. While this is not true for all organizations, we encourage you to think strategically about whether your organization would be able to take on such a large amount of capital over only a few years, particularly if a $100 million grant would dramatically increase your annual operating budget.
Next question. Are teams applying under a fiscal sponsor eligible to apply?
Organizations with fiscal sponsors are eligible to apply. The lead organization should be a single eligible entity with the legal responsibility, authority for, and control of the use of any grant funds. The lead will be responsible for reporting on any grant funds and must be able to exercise control and supervision of the proposed project and the grant funds. We leave the designation of the lead organization up to each team to decide and describe in the application and MOU. Applicants may list both the fiscal sponsor and the organization name in the lead organization field on the registration form, such as the organization name with fiscal sponsor in parentheses, or the fiscal sponsor name can be listed with the organization name. Once selected to receive an award, the lead organization will be required to enter into an additional separate agreement with MacArthur Foundation. Sample provisions and other information related to agreements can be found in the rules. Finalists who advance to the later stages of 100&Change will have the opportunity to provide updated information as needed for the lead organization that will formally enter into the separate agreement.
Next question. Are government and United Nations entities eligible?
Government entities, intergovernmental agencies, regional cooperation bodies and agencies, organizations, or elements of the United Nations are not eligible to participate as the lead applicant, but they can collaborate on a project submitted by an eligible lead applicant. The lead entity cannot act as a pass-through to a government entity, as 100&Change is not intended to fund services ordinarily provided by the government. More information about this can be found in our FAQ.
My organization previously applied to 100&Change. Can we apply again with the same project?
Yes, you may apply again, and please also take serious consideration of the feedback and comments received from the WiseHead panel and/or participatory review on any prior submission. Applicants should also review changes to the scoring rubric.
Next question. May we submit more than one application?
An organization may submit more than one application. That said, we encourage you to select a single project that best represents your organization's ability to deliver a solution that is impactful, evidence-based, feasible, durable, and just. Please review the application requirements, rules, and scoring process to understand how your submission will be evaluated. Note that regional or location-specific branches of larger organizations, as well as departments, schools, and nonprofits within or based in a college or university, can each register and submit separately as the lead applicant on more than one application, as long as the proposed solutions are different and separate. Each application must be submitted by a different team member using a unique email address. The intention here is to ensure that any team is concentrating their best efforts into a single application.
Next question. What activities are not eligible for funding from 100&Change?
For ineligible activities, please refer to the readiness tool and our FAQ for more information. I'll touch on some key considerations now. 100&Change will not consider a project focused on basic and/or clinical research. Some research activities may be allowed if part of a larger solution or strategy. We will not support a project that is solely focused on early stages of testing a new product or platform, or any project in the proof of concept stage. We are very unlikely to consider a project that provides one-off direct scholarships to individuals that is not tied to a larger strategy or solution. 100&Change projects cannot involve aggregating philanthropic capital for the purpose of re-granting to other organizations that are not part of your proposal, or for the investment of a large percentage of the grant funds. It's acceptable to distribute grant funds to organizations designated as part of the project team in your application. 100&Change will not consider a project that proposes to establish a grant-making program as the solution, or where the solution entails re-granting a large percentage of the $100 million award to organizations or entities not identified in the application. It is up to applicants to determine what is an appropriate and reasonable amount to re-grant based on the specific project. 100&Change prioritizes solutions that have a strong evidence base and are delivered by teams with the right skills, capacity, and experience. Solutions that are solutions that are early in their development or evolution without an existing evidence base are unlikely to be competitive. Reasonable costs related to salaries for essential staff members, construction, infrastructure, research, scholarships, etc., that are part of the larger proposed solutions are allowed.
Next question. Are indirect costs allowed?
The award is expected to be used for the purposes of the project. We understand that in some circumstances, an applicant may have necessary overhead that can be fairly allocated to the project. The MacArthur Foundation allows no more than 29% of the grant for overhead consistent with our indirect cost policy. Again, you can find the indirect cost policy and other policies under the rules page on the website. The 29% refers to all indirect costs of the $100 million project you are proposing. Subgrants are considered project-related costs, and a partner's indirect costs can be included as part of the total subgrant designated for that partner.
What budget format and attachments are required as part of the application?
For the budget, we leave it up to each participant to best describe their budget as they see fit in a manner that is aligned to your organization's tools, frameworks, or ways of working. Expenses identified in the table should reflect and clarify your general explanations provided in the budget narrative section and include more detailed cost categories that support your plans and intended outcomes. I'd like to emphasize three major components that are required to submit an application for 100&Change. First is the video. Participants are required to provide a short 60 to 90-second video that showcases your solution in a way that's different than the traditional written proposal format. When setting the YouTube video as unlisted, only those with the URL will be able to access and view the video during the participatory review and WiseHead review. Please review our video supports page for more information. Next item is the MOU. If you have key partners listed, a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU is required. Key partners are considered those with major roles in the design, development, and/or successful implementation of the proposed solution. An MOU is not required for stakeholders who are simply consulting or engaging in other ways, especially if these stakeholders are not integral to the successful implementation of the solution and will not be receiving funds from the project. The application asks you to upload a single PDF file that does not exceed 10 MB. A single MOU signed by all partners indicates buy-in on the particular project from all stakeholders, but we understand some applicants may need a separate MOU for each partner. We will leave this up to the applicant to decide, but it must be clear on all documents that one lead organization clearly has control and direction over the use of the grant funds. Also, we do not expect a full scope of work for each partner in the MOU. Please review our collaboration requirements on the website from the rules page. Finally, 3 years of audited financial records are also required. Form 990s will not be accepted. Audited financial records can be in any standard format and should include 1, the independent auditor's report, 2, the statement of financial position, 3, the statement of activities, 4, the statement of cash flows, as well as 5, the notes to the financial statements, if any, under the US GAAP or the equivalent statements under IFRS, if governed by a foreign jurisdiction. Please be sure to upload a single PDF file that does not exceed 10 MB, and note that while the application responses must be in English, audited financials can be submitted in a different language if necessary. If your organization does not have at least 3 years of audited financials, we recommend partnering with a lead organization who does. We also understand 2023 audits may not yet be complete. Please include your most recent, and you can note that 2023 is in progress as needed.
Could you please repeat the information about submitting in English only?
Yes, registration and application forms must be submitted in English. Supporting documents, including the financial documents, can be submitted in a different language. We understand that using English may pose a challenge to those who do not speak it as their first language. However, we made this decision to ensure consistency and minimize the risk of translation errors or misinterpretations in the application process. Please note that English language proficiency is not a requirement for applying, and we welcome applicants from all over the world. We carefully selected expert reviewers for our Wise Head panel from diverse backgrounds to provide a global perspective. Thank you for your accommodation and understanding. We encourage everyone to apply regardless of their language background.
Next question. Could you also please repeat the info about confirming my registration and how to access the online application?
Once you start registration by entering your email, you'll receive an email from questions@100change.org asking to verify your email address. Please check your spam folder if you don't see this email, and be sure to add questions@100&Change.org to your safe senders list or contacts to help make sure you receive important communications from us. This will include emails about upcoming deadlines and the required participatory review. Once your email is verified, you can go to the platform to access the registration form. Once the registration form is complete, you will not receive an email confirmation. Instead, you'll be able to access the online application form and forums on the platform once you've successfully completed the registration process. Please visit the FAQ for other technical related tips and email questions@100&Change.org if you have more questions.
How long is the competition and the expected grant period for the awardee?
The competition launched on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. You must register by 5 p.m. US Central Time on Thursday, August 15th, 2024. Applications are due no later than 5 p.m. US Central Time on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. Evaluation takes place following the submission deadline with an administrative review to check for compliance with the rules and application requirements. Participatory review is from October to November, and Wise Head panel review is from November to December. Finalists will be selected in the spring of 2025, and awardee will be selected in winter of 2025. Again, finalists and the awardee will have the opportunity to provide updates, revised timelines, budgets, and more information during the project development phase of 100&Change. The awardee of 100&Change will be provided up to a 5-year grant period, and we expect the 5-year grant period to start no earlier than January 2026. You are welcome to use this as a guideline. On the application under project phases, we ask applicants to divide your project schedule into 3 phases over a 5-year period. We expect there might be changes to this after the submission deadline, so there will be an opportunity to revise this and provide updates to finalists who move on to the later stages of 100&Change. And in case you are selected as the awardee, there will be another opportunity to update and agree upon milestones and budget with MacArthur Foundation as part of the agreement process you will be entering. Again, sample provisions for the grant agreement are under rules.
Next question. We see some questions around key partners. Are there best practices for collaborative application, including how to recognize each partner's work scope / expertise on the project? Do partners need to be secured by the time of registration? Can a reputable partner be brought in to handle the finalists?
Partners are not required, and we leave it up to each applicant to decide how to best involve partners and describe them. While the application has space to list up to 5 partners, you may have more than 5 and can include your full list on other responses to the application, such as the MOU, case for partnership, and why your team. We understand partnerships may be in progress or may change after the submission deadline. Again, those who move on as finalists will have the opportunity to provide updated information. We encourage you to include as much information as possible by the submission deadline on September 5th. And yes, we encourage you to select a member of the applicant team to be the lead applicant who will best serve as the grantee and will have direction, control, and supervision of the proposed project and management of all grant funds, as well as be responsible for all reporting requirements.
Could you please repeat the key dates and deadlines?
Yes, I'll repeat them, and please also visit the timeline page on the website to learn more. Again, registration is required and must be completed by Thursday, August 15th at 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time to be able to submit an application. The application deadline is Thursday, September 5th at 5 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. A participatory review is for 3 weeks from October 15th to November 4th. The timeline goes on to list all other key dates related to 100&Change.
Next question. We see quite a few questions around what stands out. What is the most important characteristic of successful applications? What are you looking for in a winning entry?
Again, we're not able to provide guidance very specific to your proposal, but we have defined what a strong proposal looks like on the scoring rubric page of the website. You can also look at our FAQ to learn more about past winners and explore our Bold Solutions network to learn more about strong fellow applicants. We'll put the link to that in the chat. To understand our approach to reviewing solutions at this stage, you may read our blog post. We'll add the link to the chat. And this helps to explain how similar solutions at this stage were screened during administrative review in 2016.
Next question. We'd love for you to share a deeper dive into preferred scope. I want to be sure our organization fully understands whether we do or do not qualify and the preference towards existing work, scaling current impact as opposed to starting a new initiative.
100&Change prioritizes solutions that have a strong evidence base and are delivered by teams with the right skills, capacity, and experience. Solutions that are early in their development or evolution without an existing evidence base are unlikely to be competitive.
Our submission brings together 4 organizations under a formal partnership. One of the partners is also part of a project team for a separate submission. What advice or guidance would you offer us to make sure this does not violate competition rules?
Organizations can be partners on more than one application as long as each one is focused on separate and distinct projects. Multiple applications for the same project may be deemed ineligible and invalid.
If applying with a partner organization, do both partners need to be registered, or would it be sufficient for the lead organization be registered and the partner organization be covered by the MOU?
Only the lead organization needs to be registered to submit the application. Partners may register as well, so they have access to the online platform, but it's important that only the lead organization submits your application.
Can this proposal be done collaboratively?
Yes, you may share your login credentials with team members to work on the application together. We find that many teams copy-paste the questions from the website and work on them on a collaborative document off-platform. We recommend that you start to add these responses to the platform 1 to 2 weeks ahead of the September 5th deadline to allow ample time in case you run into any technical issues.
Next question. What is the reasoning behind having the same descriptions for 4.0 and 5.0 on each respective scoring trait?
The scoring range definitions under each trait are meant to be illustrative and are what we have described as at least a 4 and up to a 5. It is up to each reviewer to select the value 4.1, 4.8, and so forth, based on if they are scoring the applicant high or low within this range. Scores are also normalized and totaled as part of the process.
Are hyperlinks in the bibliography okay to include? I need every word count. Could you exempt the reference number from the word count? Is externally verified evidence valued over internal evidence / evaluation / research?
You may add links to the bibliography, but please note, reviewers are not required to click on any links, review your website, or do any additional research as they evaluate your submission. Please keep this in mind and include as much important information as possible within the narrative responses in the application. In terms of types of evidence, the applicants are not required to own the data and/or evidence that would help to demonstrate effectiveness of the proposed solution. Teams can point to external research, literature, papers, case studies, and other similar evidence types. Please see theory of change, evidence of effectiveness, and planning for scale and amplifying impact in the application for more information.
Next question. The word count limits could pose a challenge for us, such as for milestones under project phases. Does the application allow for links, images, and other formatted visual representations?
This year's application incorporates the same or similar word counts used in the last round of 100&Change. Our team developed this format with consideration of the rigorous process and amount of time to participate, balanced with collecting enough information for reviewers to evaluate. For project phases, responses here are meant to be high level and concise, with focus on major milestones and activities in that phase to help demonstrate feasibility. The 100&Change application does not accept images. However, as mentioned, you may include links when responding to questions like bibliography as needed. But remember, reviewers are not required to click on these links as they evaluate your submission. Again, the process for 100&Change is intentional to align with awarding a single grant in the amount of $100 million. We'll add a link to the chat that further describes the reasons behind our process.
Next questions. Do applicants have discretion for how long each project phase may be, or does 100&Change have specific parameters, time ranges for each?
We leave this up to each participant to decide, and more detailed implementation plans will be finalized for those who move on as finalists and the awardee.
In section G, resource requirements, there is a question regarding other funders. Could you clarify if you are looking for funders specifically supporting the work we are proposing or funders who have supported our organization in the last 3 years? If one of our top funders requires that they be anonymous, should we list their legal name in the other funders section as anonymous, or should we leave them out?
Preference for this would be to include at least 3 and up to 5 of the top funders of the proposed solution or project. If the project is new and does not have at least 3 funders, you may include the top funders for the lead organization, and you may list funders as anonymous as needed.
Your past winners and many of the finalists have a large geographic scope, operating internationally in multiple locations or operating internationally. Does working in one country in one state, though planning to scale, make us less likely to be considered? Is there an unspoken preference this year for a winner in a different sector of the previous winners?
No, number of geographic work locations does not influence favorability of an application. And this round of 100&Change, as the past two rounds, is truly open and agnostic in terms of issue area addressed. As a reminder, applications will be evaluated based on the 5 criteria outlined in the rubric: impact, evidence-based, feasible, and just.
Next question. We see more questions related to geographic location of the proposed solution, such as, is there a preference in terms of geography? Can a lead organization in one country collaborate with an individual person based in another country to apply for this grant? Is project implementation scope limited to only area of operations of the lead applicant? How can local structures benefit if the size of the structure is a criterion for eliminating certain organizations from the competition? What about local innovations?
No, certain geographies are not favored over others. 100&Change is truly open and agnostic in terms of geography and issue area addressed. And to the next question, no, the proposed work locations for the application are not limited to where the applying organization is based. Regarding the questions about local structures, we welcome applicants of any size to apply. However, we've generally found that larger organizations are more likely to effectively absorb and deploy very large grants. While this is not true for all organizations, we encourage you to think critically about whether your organization would be able to take on such a large amount of capital over only a few years. Being a lead or a larger organization does not preclude inclusion of and impact for local communities in the proposed work. Additionally, a larger lead organization that meets the eligibility requirements could certainly apply with collaboration from smaller partner organizations that also meet the eligibility requirements. And lastly, as a reminder, applications will be evaluated based on the 5 criteria outlined in the rubric: impact, evidence-based, feasible, and just.
Do solutions have to be found effective in the geographical context where the project will be based, or one can borrow solutions that have been found effective elsewhere?
No, applications could propose a solution for a given location or locations that was applied effectively in another location. It's important, however, to bear in mind that strong applications, regardless of geographic origin, are those that provide strong evidence that the proposed idea will address the problem identified. As a reminder, applications will be evaluated based on the 5 criteria outlined in the rubric: impact, evidence-based, feasible, and just.
Next question. Does an authorized official or signatory need to complete the online submission?
Applications do not need to be submitted by an authorized official. We do recommend that the person registering as a lead member of each respective team and that the contacts listed are okay with receiving communications related to 100&Change. You may share login credentials as you need with fellow team members to collaborate on the online submission. Please work with your organizational leadership as needed for any guidance as it relates to your participation in 100&Change and any key considerations should your team move on to later stages of the competition and enter into a separate agreement with MacArthur Foundation.
For organizations that are not awarded, how has the process of applying to 100&Change help them with other funding efforts? Statistics or specific examples are much appreciated, especially for the top 100 applicants.
I think we're still working on the answer to this question. If we could move to the next one.
Okay. For biographies of key staff, must key staff have the job title project manager, or is project manager a broader term that can encompass other key positions that ensure a project's success? For example, a finance manager responsible for overseeing the project budget would be essential to implementation and may be worth listing as key staff.
We ask for top 3 team members who will be leading the proposed solution. We expect the titles of these key staff to vary, and we leave it up to each participant to decide which team members to include. You have the opportunity to include information on more key team members in responses throughout the application, such as case for partnership and why your team.
Next question, is 100&Change involved in the development of the full project application anyway?
The 100&Change has provided substantial information and guidance throughout the website to support the hundreds of applicants we expect at this stage. As mentioned, finalists will have the opportunity to work with an expert team to strengthen, revise, and refine their solutions and develop more detailed implementation plans. The project development stage for finalists also includes virtual visits with Lever for Change and the MacArthur Foundation.
Next question. Can we leave some sub-grantees to be selected in the post-award period? For example, they will not be listed in the proposal.
Yes, we understand some partners and sub-grantees may not yet be known. Please describe them as best you can in your proposal, and those who move on as finalists and the awardee may provide more information, including updates on partners.
Can I document the places where the approach is currently being implemented, even if those places will not be part of our 100&Change project?
You can list the locations of your current work in that section on the application.
Next question. Does the participatory review carry any weight, or is it just for our own benefit? Will the panel be able to access the feedback we were given by other participants?
Results from participatory review will inform the selection of applicants that will move on to WiseHead review. Scores and feedback from participatory review will not be shared with the WiseHeads or publicly. Only the 100&Change team and the participating applicants will have access to their scores and feedback.
It is stated that there is no required annual budget of the organization in order to be eligible. However, it is also stated that the financial capacity of the organization will be considered. In the readiness survey on the website, there is a question if the annual budget is over or under $5 million US. Questions. Number one, would an organization with an annual budget of $7 million US be considered in some parts of the world that's considered a significant and big organization? Number two, would it be recommended that the organization involves a partner with a bigger financial capacity with whom the grant would be implemented? Three, if an organization with 7 million annual budget would be considered, on which grounds would its financial capacity and capacity to implement the grant be assessed? What it needs to have to be considered enough capacity?
I can answer this question.
Oh, go ahead, Mohsin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mohsin Hassan. I'm a Senior Awards Director at Lever for Change. I believe we've actually answered this question in the chat, but just to offer some clarification. There is no limit or requirement that your budget needs to meet as an organization. We welcome applicants of any size, but we've generally found that larger organizations are more likely to effectively absorb and deploy these large grants. Having said that, I want to emphasize and clarify that applications will be judged and evaluated solely on the scoring rubric. So we ask you to please visit the scoring rubric, understand the different criterion, and then answer your questions as you fill out the application in a way that addresses these directives or the guidance that we've actually offered in the scoring rubric. So again, we're not going to look at the capacity of an organization through numbers. Rather, we're going to look at your application holistically. So as your peers, first and foremost, evaluate your proposal before it even gets to the WiseHead panel, they'll be looking at the impact. They'll be looking at the feasibility. So the feasibility, for example, will actually look at some of these questions in terms of the capacity of your organization, the team that you've put together, as well as the skills. So if it makes sense in your context, you can actually partner with other organizations that, for example, might have the 3 years of audited financials if you don't have that. You can also partner with a larger organization that might have the capacity to easily absorb this type of funding. Again, the $100 million, should you be selected as the awardee, will be dispersed over 5 years. So just want to emphasize again that all applications will be looked at holistically and based on the scoring rubric, rather than looking at specific budgetary numbers. And again, we don't have a limit or a ceiling in terms of the budgetary requirement that an organization needs to meet in order to be eligible.
Next question. Please confirm that spending must be within a 5-year period.
I can answer this again. So yes, it is expected that the award will be used over a period of up to 5 years. However, there is flexibility with regard to the start date and the end date, which will all be worked out during the finalist stage should your organization advance. And again, if you are selected as the awardee, you will have to enter a separate grant agreement with the MacArthur Foundation. And all these details will be outlined in that agreement. So yes, as you've put your application together, you can plan on a 5-year period, which is when the funds will be dispersed. However, there's flexibility, and in some cases, your project might have a lifespan or a life cycle that is more than 5 years, which will be fine and something that we can actually work out in the latter stages of the competition.
Next question. Does the video need to be created specifically for the purpose of this application?
We find that video can be more impactful when specifically speaking to the proposed solution for 100&Change.
Next question. Can you please clarify if an organization such as university, which has multiple units, is the financial and information required for the larger entity of the unit submitting the application, such as a department, center, or school within the university? And then whose financial records are to be submitted?
Please use the financial records for the lead organization who will be responsible for managing and implementing the proposed solution.
Can an organization apply for an amount less than $100 million?
No, the amount must total $100 million.
Next question. For the questions on location of current and location of future work, how do we indicate, how do we indicate that our program will be national in the US? The only options in the pull-down menus are individual states, and we can only select up to 5 options.
Please select the locations that best represent where or who benefits from your proposed solution. And you can further describe your locations in other responses to the application, such as in Solution Overview.
One moment. Just waiting for a few more questions are coming in.
We have time maybe for one last question. So Musin and the LFC team, if there's one that you wanted to end with, let us know.
Yes, very quickly, I see a question on whether the full application materials will be shared with the peers as well as the wise heads as part of the evaluation process, or will only certain sections be shared? I believe we answered this question in the chat, but just to emphasize again, financial records and budgets will not be shared. Budgets might be shared, but financial records, the audited financial records that you're submitting, will not be shared during the participant review process. In fact, the application that is public on the website outlines which sections and which responses that you're submitting will be shared in both the peer and the evaluation process. To clarify again, the comments that you will be receiving in the peer participant review process, should you advance to the WiseHead panel, the WiseHeads will not see those comments. So they will be blindly evaluating you again, simply based on the evaluation metrics and the scoring rubric.
Thank you, Musin, and thank you, everyone, Amy, Susanna, and all of you for your questions. If you have more, please do check the website in case the information is there. Please also accept an update to the FAQ section in the next week or so. That will include additional Q&As, especially from today's webinar. And of course, you can also email us at questions@100&change.org. Please note, as you can imagine, we get hundreds of questions for this competition, so do give us approximately 5 business days to respond as needed. But please do check the forums and the FAQ and the rest of this website first to see if your answer is there. And again, if you haven't done so already, please register no later than Thursday, August 15th at 5:00 p.m. U.S. Central Time. even if you haven't yet decided if you'll apply. So this way you're registered and you have the opportunity should you decide later. And again, if you see the online application and the forums, then you have completed registration for 100&Change. We'll host another Q&A webinar just for registrants of 100&Change on August 21st at 11 a.m. U.S. Central Time. Please save the date, and the sign-up details will be emailed to those registrants in the coming weeks. And again, a recording of this webinar will be posted on News and Updates and forums on the platform, and will be emailed to registrants of 100&Change. And thanks again so much for joining us. We look forward to your participation. I'll hand things over to Lever for Change for any closing remarks.
Thank you so much. I think, Christabel, you covered all of it. We're very excited. Thank you again for lending us your time and joining us today. We're very excited, so please register, please apply, and we look forward to reading your fantastic solutions to some of the greatest challenges we face today in the world. Thank you.